Here we go. Looking for the GIF from today. What do we got here? PFTPM Posse, have you heard any rumors about how teams are going to try to stop the heavy quarterback sneak? Also, is the play made popular by the Eagles successful due to all the rule changes which benefit the offense? Well, no, it's successful because in 2006, they removed from the rule book the rule against shoving a runner from behind. For years, you couldn't push or pull a runner. 2006, they removed the pushing aspect because it was never enforced. You'd see it out in the open field at the end of a play. Here comes a lineman, and he shoves the ball carrier a little bit farther. They never called it, ever. So they took it out of the rule book. And it only took, 16 years for teams to realize, hey, you know what? We could make this a strategic part of our offense. And I don't want to take credit or blame for it, but the day after the Thursday night game last year between the Texans and the Eagles, Peter King and I were just kind of having some fun riffing about all the things you could do. You know, you put a defensive lineman at quarterback. You put other defensive linemen behind him. You make it an inverse tug of war where you just have a mass of humanity and they just shove their way through with all these bodies behind the one with the ball. But you get a big enough body so it doesn't get smushed by the guys behind him and the force being applied in the other direction. And then all of a sudden, it's like everybody's doing it. The Eagles mastered it, but others were doing it. In that Vikings-Bills game, the sequence of plays at the goal line when the Vikings were trying to take the lead late on the drive that was fueled by the Justin Jefferson catch, they didn't score on that drive because 4th and goal, the Vikings did a quarterback sneak. And if you saw the quarterback series, Kirk Cousins improvised that. He called that on his own, and you could tell Kevin O'Connell wasn't thrilled with it, but there was a guy behind him who tried to push him in, and it didn't work. The next play, Gabe Davis coming in motion, pushes Josh Allen from behind, and that whole timing and sequence, he fumbles the ball, Vikings recovered for a touchdown, take the lead, yada, yada. Bills tied up, Vikings win in overtime. But there were 2 plays there back-to-back where you had that element of somebody pushing the quarterback from behind. The Eagles perfected it. The NFL's keeping it in. More teams, I think, are going to use it. And look, I mean, what can you do to stop it? You can do some stuff that would be unsafe for the quarterback because you're unprotected. You're unprotected. The only rule that benefits you there is the rule against lowering your helmet to initiate contact with an opponent. You could clothesline the guy. You can hit him in the head. You just can't hit him with the top of your helmet. He's not a quarterback. He's not a passer in that situation. He's a running back. So you can have guys flying over the top of a pile. You can have guys intentionally leaping over the top, try to land on the quarterback and keep him from advancing the ball. Plus, it's a free shot at the most important player on the field. And I know that it's frowned upon now to say these things post-Bountygate, but there are coaches out there. They don't talk about it publicly. They understand the value of taking that free shot at the quarterback because surplus value, we were talking about that earlier. You go from QB1 to QB2, better chance of winning the game if you're the defense that is able, through a clean legal hit, to render that opposing quarterback incapable of continuing. PFTPM Posse, did you add Simsisms to Father of Mine in honor of Sims? Because I've noticed quite a few, like wet beyond his years. Is that what I said? I thought I said wise beyond his years. I don't know. Yeah, but one of the stupid characters, and there are plenty of stupid characters in Father of Mine, he makes one of those Simsism type statements and he's corrected. And yeah, yes, that's part of it. Simsisms and misstatements like that are always front of mind because I deal with the guy every day and my filter is constantly listening for more. But yeah, I mean, sometimes people make those statements and sometimes it's kind of funny and sometimes it isn't. All right. Drew Porter. Wait, let me, one more from PFTPM Posse. Is there any event that could legitimately happen in the next 5 to 10 years that would give running backs higher average pay than kickers or leverage to get fair pay? Or will it take parents, coaches at lower levels, keeping the best athletes from running back, reducing the huge supply? I mean, I really think that's the long-term solution. And whether or not there's a shorter-term solution depends upon what strength the running backs can muster among themselves to push back against the system that currently is in place. Drew Porter. Is there a code of conduct for active NFL players on social media? How close to the line was Kadarius Toney when he cursed at and threatened Giants fans? I think it all falls under the personal conduct policy. And that's a good question. I was at the beach last week and one of the other writers handled it. I saw some noise about it. I think it would fall under the personal conduct policy, and there probably is a line you could cross that really would be a crime. See, that's the thing. People think that like a death threat on social media is okay. It's not the same as making a death threat to someone over the phone, or if you see them face to face, it's still something that should be prosecuted. So if you say something or do something on social media that could get you in trouble with the law, that's the kind of thing that you'd think the NFL would take action against, but it would be under the personal conduct policy. And there may be something under the personal conduct policy that would be brought up. There's a catch-all provision. When they list all the things that you can't do, there's a broad catch-all provision that in theory, the Chiefs, or more specifically, the league, could take action against Kadarius Toney if they want to. Brendan Panikar, what countries have you visited around the world? Canada. And that's it. But the passport project is back on. We've been talking about going to Europe next summer. And at some point, we need to go see our fans in the UK who have been very loyal, very passionate, and very adamant that we make a visit at some point. Hunter Wallace, outside of the running back market, who has the most fascinating next contract to speculate about? Either it's Mahomes or Jefferson. Jefferson probably gets $30 million a year in base. Well, it wouldn't be base. It would be total. Mahomes probably gets spread out cap charge to facilitate bigger contracts of other guys. I don't know how it's going to play out. I mean, I believe Mahomes is going to get an adjusted contract before week 1. The Vikings seem to be slow playing Justin Jefferson, which is a mistake because it's only going to be more expensive, and possibly you get yourself to a point where he decides, I'm out, I'm done. I'm curious about this angle of Jefferson becoming bait for a trade that would get the Vikings their franchise quarterback that they so desperately need after this season. That would be something if it happens. The other two that I'm watching, though, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. I was talking to somebody over the weekend about this. Even though I think that Burrow is on a higher level than Justin Herbert, this is a push and pull among the agencies. Athletes First has Justin Herbert. CAA has, it's the other way around. CAA has Justin Herbert. Athletes First has Joe Burrow. And there's a subtext there where I think each one is waiting for the other to go first just to set the baseline. Now, if Burrow does his deal, I don't know that Herbert has any chance of getting more, but the question is, how close can he get? And Burrow wants Herbert to go first because that sets the floor for him. See, Herbert sets the floor for Burrow. Burrow sets the ceiling for Herbert. And each guy wants, or more accurately, each guy's agency wants the other one to go first. So Burrow will know, I knew I was eventually going to do that. Burrow, now the microphone's messed up. Anyway, see if it comes back here. Burrow will know how much he needs to get above Herbert, and Herbert will know what his absolute maximum is. And I'm going to jiggle this and try to get it to come back. I don't know what I did here, but I finally knocked the damn thing down after 4.5 weeks of doing this with Mr. Microphone, and people complain about the lights that give people seizures, I guess. Anyway, I'm going to power through this because I have a feeling this isn't going to work. So, long story bearable. Well, now it's back. Long story bearable. Burrow's waiting for Herbert because Herbert sets the floor. Herbert's waiting for Burrow because Burrow sets the ceiling. And it's the agents who are in a deeper fight. And also, there's an opinion in the Herbert camp that maybe they have a chance of outdoing Burrow depending upon what Burrow does. So it'll be interesting to see who goes first, because at some point, somebody's got to go first. From the team's perspective, hey, we're ready to go. I think both teams are ready to go. They're waiting for the players through their agents to get to the point where the deals can be finalized. All right. James M., a.k.a. Dr. J 144. A year ago, it seemed like media and fans were questioning if Stephen Ross should be forced to sell his team, joking about tanking, tampering with Brady, etc. He has a good PR team, doesn't he? Seems like nobody is pushing for him to sell anymore. I don't think anybody was pushing for him to sell. And look, unless you're Dan Snyder and you're caught up in a controversy that gets Congress involved and just a constant string of embarrassments for the league, this other stuff, I've said this before, and I'll say it again right now. The owners of the good teams like having owners of dysfunctional teams. They like having 10 to 12 teams that they know we don't have to worry about them. Stephen Ross, absentee landlord, dysfunctional team, bad decisions. We like that as the owners of the teams that know what they're doing. We like to not have to worry about the Dolphins. Now, the reality is they're kind of figuring things out under Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer. So, the days of just kind of looking down your nose at the Dolphins may be over. They've put enough in place where they're overcoming whatever dysfunction Stephen Ross might try to bring to the team. Hunter Rolls, is it on the board that Jimmy Garoppolo gets cut by the Raiders if he doesn't recover from his surgery by week 1? No, I don't think what'll happen. Here's what'll happen. If he's not healthy enough to pass a physical by the time they cut the rosters at 53, they'll just put him on the physically unable to perform list. I think he'll start camp possibly, unless he's good to go, passes a physical, and is there from day 1 of camp, he'll be on the PUP list. And guys can be on the PUP list all throughout camp. When you get to the cut down day, late August, that's when you either go to the roster or you go to the PUP reserve list, where you've got to sit out 6 weeks, and then you can come back, you return to practice. There's a 3-week window, and then you either join the active roster or you go on reserve for the rest of the year. I think what's going to happen is if he's not able to pass a physical by week 1, he just stays on PUP. And then 6 weeks later, we see where he is. And the Raiders don't need to cut him because the way the contract is structured, they're not paying him anything until he's actually in position to pass a physical and play for the Raiders. Spidey 2Y Banana, what is your ideal weather for a football game? Do you enjoy when the elements play a role in the game plan, or would you rather have it be a reduced non-factor? I mean, we all love a snow game. It looks great. A snow game looks great, and it's so rare that we just embrace it when we see it. But yeah, ideally, you don't want weather to be a factor at all. You want it to be a cool, dry day or night, and the less the weather is a factor in a game, the better. All right, probably need to wrap this up. Been going almost an hour. I'm just looking for any others that could be interesting. Judson Gerbler, since you predict that Aaron Donald could get traded, what are the chances the Rams will get Caleb Williams? Well, they got to have enough ammunition that they could trade. Would Aaron Donald be part of it? Depends on who they're doing the trade with. Because Aaron Donald, even though I don't think he has a no trade clause, I mean, he's not going to go to any team he doesn't want to go to, and no one's going to, because he'll just retire. I think after this season, either retires or gets traded to a team he wants to go to. And I think he wants to get back in the vicinity of Pittsburgh, whether it's Pittsburgh or Baltimore or Cleveland or Cincinnati or New York or, somewhat closer, maybe even the Eagles, a lot closer to home than he currently is, because that's a 7-month or so where you're away from where he wants to be. And I think he's at the point, and I think this is why this happened last year. He just wants to be closer to Pittsburgh. And after this year, I think he's going to get there. All right. I should probably wrap this up. If I didn't get to your question today, try it again tomorrow. Appreciate some of your time. As always, again, just 6 days away from the return of PFT Live. 3 more editions of PFT PM. I kind of like the idea of doing PFT PM, not simply when there's news that breaks late afternoon, late morning, early afternoon, whenever, after PFT Live goes off the air. I kind of like the idea of just, popping in from time to time. And I always say I'm going to do that. And then once I get into the PFT Live grind, once my routine changes again, it's kind of like, 2 hours in the morning is enough. Unless there is something that happens. We've been doing that in recent years. We'll do an emergency PFT PM where we address whatever it is. We bring the content to you. We give you our opinions and our takes, and then we flesh things out further the next morning on PFT Live. So you can count on PFT Live every morning, 7 to 9 Eastern, starting on Monday. And maybe once we get through this week of PFT PM, we'll see it a little more often. We'll take that under advisement. And with that, I'll say thank you. See you back here again on Wednesday. Check us out around the clock at easy for him to say, profootballtalk.com. Have a great Tuesday. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.